إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له وما يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة دلالة، وكل دلالة في النار. Verily, ya ikhwan, ya akhawat, verily all the praise and all of the glorification and all of the magnification, it is due to Allah and Allah alone. And I publicly, right here, right now, declare and attest to the fact that there is no one that deserves to be worshipped other than Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, and that Muhammad al-Amin al-Mustafa Abu Qasim al-Sadiq al-Masduq is the last and the seal of messengers sent to guide mankind from the darkness into the light. Ya Ikhwan, more than 25 years ago, Ya Ikhwan, being raised in a Christian family, Ya Ikhwan, and when I started to get the da'wah from my people, my qawm, and they explained to me what al-Islam really is, the meaning of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and embracing Islam more than 25 years ago, learning Islam from some of the Muslims that immigrated from the lands of the Muslims to the land of the non-Muslims, Ya Ikhwan, having the perception, the tasawwur, the understanding that once you say with your tongue, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, that now, Ya Ikhwan, we came into the brotherhood, what is known as al-Akhuwa al-Imaniyya, the Islamic brotherhood, Ya Ikhwan. And with that statement, Ya Ikhwan, we're supposed to be brothers, regardless of our tongue, regardless of the land, regardless of the lands or the education that we have. This is supposed to unify the Muslims, this statement, Ya Ikhwan. This mere statement that we utter with our tongue had great meaning in the time of the Sahaba, ridwanullahi ajma'in. But in our time, Ya Ikhwan, it's just lit profession. We just say it on our tongue, Ya Ikhwan. But there's anwa, Ya Ikhwan, and there's aqsam, Ya Ikhwan, and there is, Ya Ikhwan, shurut, Ya Ikhwan. There's conditions, and there's understandings, and there's concepts. From the concept, inshallah ta'ala, Ya Ikhwan, that we want to discuss bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, as I'm your guest coming from very far away, I'm coming from the other side of Toronto, I'm coming from the Peel region, Ya Ikhwan. As I'm locally in here to visit the city, my mother-in-law, she just lives down the road, so I visited her. And may Allah bless all of our families to maintain al-istiqamah. The topic bi'idhnillahi ta'ala that we want to discuss, Ya Ikhwan, and this is a serious concept, brothers. And maybe for the Ahl al-Arab, maybe you don't understand these English words, because English is my first language. The issue, Ya Ikhwan, of the united divided. I'm going to say it again. The united divided. Qala Allah Ta'ala. What does Allah Ta'ala say about this? Allah Ta'ala has told us not to be divided, Ya Ikhwan. وَكُلُّ حِزْبٍ بِمَا لَدَيْهِمْ فَرِحُونَ. And each group, each faction, each country, each hizb, they're happy with their program, Ya Ikhwan. We find the Muslims in one country, they're not close with the Muslims from another country. They don't like them, they don't give them the salams, they don't even barely consider them their brothers, and they trample over the rights. Allah Ta'ala says in each group is happy with what they have. The united divided. And the other concept that we want to bring, brothers, is the concept of unity with diversity. Unity with diversity, ya ikhwan. Some of us are Arab, some of us are Indian, some of us are African, some of us, ya ikhwan, are Native American. But the thing that brings our heart together, if we're true believers, as Allah Ta'ala said, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ يَا إِخْوَانِ. That the believers, ya ikhwan, they're brothers in faith. So now the issue comes, ya ikhwan, when we're looking at our ummah, and as we look, ya ikhwan, many of us we come from, as we find different colors and different educations and different languages and different tribes and different races and different continents. But the bottom line, my dear brothers, are we Muslim and do we love each other? And when we look at the situation, ya ikhwan, we're finding that the Muslim ummah in certain countries, they are spending not millions, not billions, but trillions of dollars to build big, huge, lofty skyscrapers in the sky, which every Muslim wants to go there like it's Hollywood or it's like Las Vegas, ya ikhwan. This is something on the bucket list. I want to go to the Burj Khalifa and take some pictures and pretend that I'm cool, ya ikhwan. Something from the dunya, ya ikhwan. But as for those that understand, ya ikhwan, that if we're going to build the unity with diversity, ya ikhwan, then we have to understand that there are, ya ikhwan, some foundations. So to build something, you need to have an asl or a rukn, pillars and foundations. And to build, ya ikhwan, anybody who studied engineering, and I'm not from amongst those people, but to build a high tower, ya ikhwan, you have to first of all dig a very, very, very deep hole to build the foundations, ya ikhwan. And once we do that, ya ikhwan, then the building, it won't collapse. Ya ikhwan, as a new Muslim, as your brother in Islam, someone who akhtarahum Allah, someone who Allah chose them, and I don't understand it, someone who was in the streets of Toronto, a person who was raised on kufr and shirk. I don't know why Allah chose me, ya ikhwan. I have no idea. But I am grateful that Allah chose me. All of my family, they're non-Muslims, ya ikhwan. So I am truly grateful, ya ikhwan. I am grateful that Allah Ta'ala, He chose me to be a Muslim, ya ikhwan. I am not a Muslim by chance. I am a Muslim by choice. Walillahi alhamd, ya ikhwan. And we've sacrificed many dunya things to get our position in Islam, ya ikhwan, and to climb up the total pole, ya ikhwan, of Islam. Because there's those people from amongst us that if we were to go to a soccer game, because I see most of the brothers, they're Arab, so I'm sure you like Kurat al-Qadam. Most of us, we're sitting up in the high top of the bleachers, at the very, very top, the last seat at the top, and we're looking down at the game, and we're criticizing the players that are playing the game. This guy's no good, that guy's no good. There's those amongst us that are sitting up in the bleachers, ya ikhwan. They're not even in the game, but they have something negative to say. Then there's those amongst us that are sitting on the sideline, hoping that it's our chance to get into the game, ya ikhwan. Some of us, are we ready? Then there's those that are in the game already, ya ikhwan, that are out there trying to make an effort, trying to spread Islam in this land. And many of us, ya ikhwan, we came from the land of Muslims to come here, not for the sake of dawah, but we came here to get educated. And this is good, alhamdulillah, ya ikhwan. But the bottom line is, my dear brothers, what are we building for the future? When we look at the next generation of Muslims to come, and I travel all across the country, ya ikhwan, the generation is getting worse. We're losing our generation between technology and traditionalism. What our parents were upon, and ya ikhwan, these devices that are coming out, most of the kids, if you were to take this device away from them, ya ikhwan, most likely they'll become in a state of depression. Because they're not connected to the dunya, ya ikhwan. Whereas the Muslim who has al-qana'ah, he comes to the masjid and he wants to be a part of something which is better. So when we look at the situation, ya ikhwan, one of the characteristics, the khasa'is, or the sifat that we have to have, is we have to have healthy relationships between one another. Allah Ta'ala went on to say, after I say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, fattaqullah wa aslihu dhatal baynikum. So fear Allah and adjust all matters and difference between one another. So there is an adab, ya ikhwan, that we as brothers, if we're not getting along, Allah Ta'ala, He told us to sit down and adjust the affairs. How is it possible, ya ikhwan, that as Muslims, we're not united? How is it possible, ya ikhwan, that the Muslims are suffering all over the world, ya ikhwan? And you know what I've heard some brothers say? And recently I was with a brother, a Caucasian brother who embraced Islam, who's a very dear friend of mine. And the brother, he has a little thing that we would call, he has a challenge. The brother, he wasn't born with eyesight. And he went to a particular masjid of some brothers to try to ask them for some zakat money because the brother was in need at that time. And when he went to this particular masjid, and brothers, the minaret for this masjid cost close to $1 million just for the minaret. He went and he asked them for some help because he's brothers in Islam. And he said, my brothers will surely help me. They said, brother, why don't you go to the masjid where your people are from? Go to the masjid where your people are from. And the brother, as a Muslim, said, I thought I'm from your people. I'm from the Muslims. I'm a Muslim just like you. But because he couldn't speak their lahja, ya ikhwan, their pronunciation of how they word their language, he's not from them. That's the minhum, he's not from them. So some years later, my dear brother, Allah bless him to mashallah, become a very influential, very popular speaker, much better than me, who travels all over the world. They asked him some years later, because they heard of his lectures, and he said, brother, can you come to our masjid and give some lectures? Not knowing that this is the same brother that they told him, why don't you go to where your people are from? So imagine you travel all over the world. He's been even invited, ya ikhwan, to go to Turkey. And he met the president of Turkey, and he met the Muslims there, and he read Quran by Braille, ya ikhwan. Hundreds of thousands of people attended the program. And he travels all around the world. Now he comes back to his local masjid, and the people see him. And then when they realize who he is, they realize, oh wow, we treated our brother bad. So did the brother have the chance to treat them bad as well? No, he treated them good, ya ikhwan, as a believer. So ya ikhwan, one of the things Allah Ta'ala, He has told us, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Cooperate, come together, be a team, be a unit, come together and work together, ya ikhwan, but don't come together and participate on corruption, ya ikhwan. So we see, ya ikhwan, in the city of Toronto, that many of the Muslim children, and this is where I work in, ya ikhwan, I work as one of the counselors for many of the Muslim youth that are actually involved in mukhadarat, and they're also involved in gang activity in the city of Toronto. Where now, recently I just attended a conference, ya ikhwan, and the police and the government said there's no more funding whatsoever, ya ikhwan, for the Muslims. The police's job is to take the Muslims and to arrest them and put them in the jail. And you'll find, ya ikhwan, the jail is filled more than 50% with Muslims because they came off the Sirat al-Mustaqim. And there's a principle, a qawaid, that one of our sheikhs, he taught us while we were studying in Egypt. At-tariq qadr rafiq. At-tariq qadr rafiq. That the path, ya ikhwan, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, is more important than your friends, ya ikhwan. Kulli man tasahib akulaka man anta. Show me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. So if you're hanging out with Ashab Su, the bad, influential people, ya ikhwan, this will destroy the ummah, ya ikhwan. But when you're amongst the Salihin, ya ikhwan, you'll find that there'll be ascendancy, ya ikhwan. And as Abu Abbas Ahmed al-Harrani, better known as Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, which one of the books of the Shaykh is here in the masjid, he said some very beautiful words. And for the Arab, hopefully you'll understand the sweetness of it. He said, إِذَا تَفَارَقَ الْقَوْمِ فاسدوا وحلكوا واجتمعوا صلحوا ومالكوا فإن جماع الرحمة وفرق الله. He, rahmatullah alayhi, went on to say that when the people divide, there'll be corruption and there'll be destruction. But when they work together and they're together, there'll be kingdoms and ascendancy. With the jama'ah is rahmah, and with the division is the punishment of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And when we look at our ummah, ya ikhwan, in the Muslim lands, and I had a chance to spend a little bit of time in some of the Muslim lands, ya ikhwan, the Muslims that are over there, they want to come over here like this is the land of Jannah. But for those that have come here now, and I'm sure many of the brothers, they've come here the last 2 years, the last 4 years, the last 5 years, maybe the last 25 years, you know, brothers, that you got to work hard here if you want anything. And just like that, for us, for those that can look and witness one of the richest parts of our country, may Allah help the people there. I visited the place called Fort McMurray. And I've seen Muslims when they had so much money, ya ikhwan, And I was telling my mother-in-law, I was sitting in the basement with some of the brothers 5 years ago. With a brother in one of the house, he had 6 lazy boy couches. That's how much money he had. Ascendancy that they think, mashallah, dunya, money, mashallah, we're living a good life. All of that got torn down, ya ikhwan, within one day. 188,000 people are displaced. So for those, ya ikhwan, that came from the land of the Muslims to come to this country, and your intention was to live high on the hill and to get a degree, mashallah, that's good. But brothers, remember that we have to worship Allah over here and be good Muslims here, just like we're supposed to do in the Muslim country, ya ikhwan. Makan was zaman, they don't change for the Muslim. Malik al-Maut doesn't just go to the land of Muslims and take your soul, he takes your soul over here. He doesn't need a passport to go through international borders to take money your soul, ya ikhwan. This is something, ya ikhwan, it's an ibrah. It's something for us to look to realize and look at the reality, the haqiqat al-dunya, ya ikhwan. Many people, they lost every single thing that they have. But as for the Muslims, and I talked to the Imam just the other day, he said, alhamdulillah, we have our Iman. Allah will make things easy for us. So my dear brothers, how do we get back to claiming the ascendancy? One of, ya ikhwan, the things that we need to do as members of the Jamaat al-Muslimin is the concept of ruhama'u bainahum, merciful amongst themselves. When you see somebody who's a Muslim and they put their head on the ground, that's your brother, ya ikhwan. It's possible that the brother sitting beside you, he's closer to Allah than you are. He is your brother. He's maybe footsteps ahead of me and you on his way to the Jannah. So anybody who's a Muslim, mashallah, ya ikhwan, at the very beginning of my accepting Islam 25 years ago, alhamdulillah, I've never had to fight any Muslims. I've never had to put my hands on any Muslims. I've never had to hurt any Muslims, ya ikhwan. And this is a blessing. But in the city of Toronto, we have Muslim gangs, ya ikhwan. Muslim on Muslim crime activity, where the Muslims are fighting over drug turf, shooting and killing and stabbing one another in the city of Toronto. And it's starting to spread exponentially outside of the Toronto vicinity because it's a plague. What will you do, ya ikhwan, as you've nurtured your children? You've given them tarbiyat al-awlad. You raise them, you send them to Quran school, you nurture your daughter, you nurture your son, and then all of a sudden he makes a wrong choice and he ends up with the bad people, ya ikhwan. And now all of a sudden he decides to go to a shisha bar. And I asked one of the youth I was counseling him recently, why did you go to the shisha bar? It's haram. He said, no, it's halal. It has Arabic writing. It says shisha. Think about this, ya ikhwan. Because the word is in Arabic, Muslims think that's halal. Shisha in Arabic. Oh, it's halal. Just like the halal side now, all the non-Muslims now, they've realized you want to make money from the Muslims' pocket? Just put halal on it. LCBO, LLBO, liquor and halal together, so you can go and get alcohol and liquor in the restaurant, mashallah. The Muslims are eating. Alhamdulillah. What kind of intellect do we have, ya ikhwan? Well, we're not supporting our own brothers and supporting our own businesses and supporting one another, ya ikhwan. We have issues, ya ikhwan, that need to be strategized. And when we look at the situation, ya ikhwan, we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told the believers, وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and don't be divided. So our topic for today, for those who came late, is what part of the ummah are you, ya ikhwan? What are you building? Are you unity with diversity? Are you from those people that are trying to build unity with diversity? Means we're all different backgrounds, but we're unified on la ilaha illallah? Or are we the united divided? Are we divided because everybody, kullu hizbin bima ladayhim farihun, everybody's trying to do their own program? Which ummah are we building? This is something, ya ikhwan, that we have to take very, very, very serious. And then, ya ikhwan, I'm going to give you some personal stories, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, where I had traveled to a city in New Jersey, where at one time the Muslims were very, very strong. So strong, ya ikhwan, that the haiba, that the non-Muslims actually, when they seen the Muslim brothers and their Muslim sisters practicing Islam, they had great reverence and great respect for the Muslims. But unfortunately, ya ikhwan, somebody came in there, infiltrated the ranks of the Muslims, and started splitting and fragmenting the Muslims up into different groups, ya ikhwan. And all of a sudden, there was not only one masjid, there's now 8 masjids within the vicinity of 5 miles, ya ikhwan. So what did Allah Ta'ala say about that? We find Allah Ta'ala, He wanted to say, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ. Allah Ta'ala says, and obey Allah and the Messenger, and do not dispute with one another unless you lose your courage and your strength will depart, and be patient. So what had happened at one time, ya ikhwan, where it was impossible for a non-Muslim to think in their mind that they could go and not only touch and put hands on some of the Muslim women, they would never do that. But once the division of the ranks of the Muslims started to come, and this masjid was for this group of people, and this masjid was for that group of people, and this masjid was for that group of people, you can put in education, you can put in language, you can put in madhab, you can put in whatever you want. You fill it in. Then the non-Muslims became brave enough because the Muslims weren't united. And they started to abuse our sisters, take their jilbab off and rip their jilbab off. In America, ya ikhwan. But alhamdulillah, one of the things that one of the imams, he thought years ahead, he started to get a few brothers, inshallah ta'ala, to go and decide to become police. Now, I'm not endorsing that. But they did, and when the police show up on the scene, his brothers with the beards like this, arresting the culprits, putting them in jail. When they ended up going to the court, the lawyer is Muslim, the judge is Muslim. Ya ikhwan, if we're here, then let's build this place up. If we're here, let's build this place up, ya ikhwan. But there's some of the brothers here that maybe they think, you know what, I'm just going to come to Canada, I'm going to get my BA, my MA, my PhD, and then I'm going to go back to my country and I'm going to build it up. Okay, mashallah, tabarakallah. But brothers, if you're drinking from the fountain, ya ikhwan, then inshallah ta'ala, after you drink, just like when you go and you use the wudu facilities, and you use the washroom, and when you go, you have to go so bad, brothers, and there is the lota, there is the stinja bottle there, you use it, put some water back in it for your brother who comes after you, ya ikhwan. This will bring you closer to Allah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah wahad al-ahad. Afard samad lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. My dear brothers in Islam, my dear sisters in Islam, we find in Ikhwan ya Akhwat that Allah Ta'ala has given us some gems in the Quran. And traditionally we read this book, ya Ikhwan, as a pastime, as opposed to studying this book as something that will bring life to our mind and our heart. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu istajibu lillahi wal rasuli idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. Allah Ta'ala said, O you who believe, answer the call when Allah and His Messenger, will they do what? They give you life. This book will give you life, ya ikhwan. I come from a deep, dark kufr, ya ikhwan. And recently I went to a family function of one of my non-Muslim families, and I was hanging out with one of my cousins, who's a non-Muslim. May Allah guide him to Islam. But he's close to Islam. May Allah guide him. He even has a tattoo that says Abi on it. So may Allah guide him to Islam. We were talking and reminiscing how we live far apart from each other, but our fathers who are first cousins, they used to control the streets of Toronto. And they did all type of fahisha and fujur, ya ikhwan. And it is a lesson for me, ya ikhwan, because I realize khiyarukum jahiliya, khiyarukum Islam ila faqihu. That those in the days of ignorance will become those that are the best in Islam if Allah gives you understanding of the religion, ya ikhwan. We are living in the West, and the opportunity for da'wah is maftuh. I lived, ya ikhwan, in one of the Muslim countries. I was sitting in McDonald's. I was having a conversation with some kids, and the shorta came and they arrested me and they put me in detention for 6 hours. But because of Jawaz al-Safari, because of my passport, which is a Canadian passport, which is controlled by a Christian country, the criminal Muslim regime had to let me go, ya ikhwan. It messed up my mind, ya ikhwan, i'tiqadi. Here I am, a Muslim in a Muslim country, and I'm being abused, but because I have a passport that is recognized by a Christian company, a Christian Canadian country, they let me go. So when I sit and I look at it, ya ikhwan, you have great opportunity, brothers, to do many great things. Allah chose you to come from those lands, to learn something here. If you're going to stay here, build something. If not, go back and build a better land and a better place for the Muslims. It's a responsibility. But when I see, like I said before, there are those that are sitting back at the top of the bleachers that are watching the game and they're criticizing, this guy's no good, that sheikh's no good, this guy's no good, that guy's no good, this guy's no good. Then there's those that are sitting on the fence getting ready to get into the game that didn't get a chance yet, and then there's those that are actually in the game, ya ikhwan. So the question that I have for myself and for you brothers, where are we? Are we up in the bleachers? Are we getting ready to go and exchange, sub, as they say, or getting ready to get into the game? Or we're actually in the game? For those that are waiting, ya ikhwan, help those that are already in the game. For those that are in the bleachers, help those prepare to get into the game. But my dear brothers, as Muslims, living here in the West, it comes down to two things. How much concern do we have as Muslims, and as a new Muslim, I look at this very seriously, the topic of ikhlas, being sincere to Allah Azza wa Jal. The topic of at-tawheed, worshiping Allah and Allah alone. The topic of the sunnah. The topic of al-ukhuwa al-imaniyah, Islamic brotherhood. The topic of al-hub, love. The topic of al-ilm. The topic of al-hikmah. The topic of al-sabr. The topic of al-akhlaq. The topic of al-barakah. Not only in our money, but in our time. The topic of hirs. We should be worried and concerned about many things. The topic of hasana. The topic of zakat. The topic of sadaqah. The topic of rahmah. The topic of rifq. All of these are khutbahs. Week after week we can discuss these issues. What we need to build, ya ikhwan, a strong Muslim community. And I'll end it with this, brothers. What is plaguing us and making us fall into the united, divided, those people that want to do their own thing, we have people that are propagating unsuriya, racism, asabiya, clanism, sulaliya, groupism, qawmiya, tribalism, hizbiya, partisanship. These things are destroying our ummah, ya ikhwan. And Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَاعْتَسِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. The brothers here are trying to build something, help them support it. The other brothers have another masjid, support that. We have some programs in the city, we need support, brothers. Help as much as you can. We are spending lots of money helping Tim Hortons make lots of money for them, and Starbucks make lots of money for them, and every other place we're helping them, giving our money, and we don't even question, we're just giving. But when our brothers say, brother, help support, we need help. The Muslim, we have no money. But I see you driving a brand new car. You're telling me you couldn't give $1? Brothers, just give $1. The other day, mashallah, I'm only telling you, brothers, just this how Allah Azza wa Jal works. I'm not doing it to lose my good deeds, but I just want to show you, brothers. A Muslim brother seen me in a restaurant, and he asked me for some food. He said, brother, can you buy me a piece of fish? That's exactly what he said, and I need a 1 bottle of water. $6.50. Wallahi, another brother came to me in the masjid the next day, actually the same day. And he came and said, brother, this is for your dawah work, bismillah, barakallah. Just like that. So my brother, sometimes you got to live to give and give to live. You got to live to give and give to live. With that, my dear brothers, as a jama'ah, we become very powerful. Me as an individual, if I come to you, I can poke somebody in the eye or I can prod you back. But if we were to come together and we start to put all of our efforts together, brothers, as a community, we can deliver a very strong blow. We can really defend ourselves and help our community if we work together, ya ikhwan, as a group of people, a jama'ah. With that, هذا ما عندي وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. My dear brothers, I'm your new brother in Islam, and I'm asking my dear brothers and sisters today. I have some parents that are not Muslim. I'm urging you, brothers, inshallah ta'ala, to make dua for my parents to become Muslim before they leave this world. Out of all the efforts that I've tried to make in my life to try to do some good, nothing, and Allah knows if I've done any good or not, nothing would mean more to me than for my parents to embrace Islam. And also there's another brother amongst us here too. His parents, they're not Muslim. These new brothers and myself, we've made great sacrifices to try to maintain our Islam. We want to work. We didn't leave from Jahiliyyah to come into Islam to sit up in the bleachers. We came because we want to get in the game and we're already in the game. So those brothers, they're here. Inshallah, they want to volunteer, they want to help build something positive because we have wife and children that want to have security and safety and a place to come from the hayat al-dunya, ya ikhwan. The dunya is taking our deen away. This place and other places like this help us to get back close to Allah. With that, brothers, I'll keep us alive. Wa yarhamakallah.
Allahu Akbar.